A 16-year-old girl dies in a weekend car accident.
Garland police say it's not clear who was behind the wheel in an early morning accident involving 3 teenagers.
On teenagers and risky behavior, the subject of a recent federal government study.
Just the adrenaline rush, going into the turn and hitting a jump.
We all know teenagers take risks, but some of those risks can get out of control.
Well, from binge drinking to drug taking and wild stunts that can turn deadly in an instant.
So the last parts of the brain that come up to speed during growth and development are these functions. And what they do as a group, you can think of it as they're what allow you to work toward and achieve goals. But they include things like judgment, reasoning, risk assessment, emotional self-awareness, organization and prioritizing, being able to judge validity and resources, being able to prioritize which resource is the best to use. And with those executive functions still not wired in, we get to physical and emotional and mental challenges in the teen years.
Yes, the prefrontal cortex is really important for a lot of sort of higher thinking that we associate with older people and adults being able to do, but not children. So for example, the prefrontal cortex is important in deductive reasoning, trying to predict what will happen in the future or as results of actions. Also, a really important thing that happens there is executive control. So the ability to sort of coordinate and control the other parts of your brain and plan your actions out and control them. And that's something that children don't really have a very good way of doing, but sort of throughout the teenage years, as different parts of the brain mature, they become better and better at doing their thing efficiently. And the prefrontal cortex is actually one of the last parts of the brain to sort of mature in that way during the teenage years.
A lot of teens are considered scattered or unfocused or lazy or inefficient or ADD, but something's really happened to the teen years in kids born since 2000, because there's been this increased demand on executive functions, but we didn't evolve a lot. There hasn't been a big change in the human brain for 20,000 years. So here's teens in a world where there's much greater demand for organization, prioritizing, critical analysis, because there's so much more data. It's the information age, it's globalized. So there's so much more stuff. There's so much more false stuff that you have to evaluate. So the demand on executive functions is huge since there's been globalization and technology. Embrace, in a way, the fact that your brain is wired for some of this immediate gratification and risk-taking, because it's also an opportunity. It's something that requires you to consider judgment and act before you think before you act. But it's also allowing you to do something that your brain will start closing in on in the next 10 years. Taking risks in terms of doing things that are out of your comfort zone. Being with people that may not be your typical friends, but that seem interesting. Maybe they're not the ones that your friends like, but trying new activities, sports, clubs, art, music, drama, doing things, using that willingness to take risks and push the envelope, and going to middle school and going on mountain biking trips.
But sometimes when teenagers seem to be taking risk-seeking behaviors or being very emotional about things, that's actually just part of the biology of how the brain matures.